gentlemen, my name is Total Biscuit of the WoW podcast, Blue Please on cynicalbrit.com. Very many of you did ask for a video that showed you all of the new race class combinations that you could have. And I was thinking maybe if I make it, I'll stop getting asked dumb questions. But I'm thinking that won't be the case. Whatever, it's a good excuse to give information to those who do want it, so we're going to go through all of them, and we'll find out what exactly you can do in terms of what's new, because some of the BlizzCon 2009 information is actually out of date, and you can make some race class combinations that you weren't supposed to be able to. They did make some changes in that regard, so let's kick it off. Okay, first for Hunters, the new class race combination you can have for Hunters is the Human Hunter. Now, I believe their old explanation for the fact that you couldn't have human hunters was, oh, humans are too destructive to the forest and blah, blah, blah. But apparently that has now been resolved. Maybe the animals realised that the Horde are way worse, and they thought, yeah, I suppose we can ally with humans. Yeah, it's alright. They only cut down a few trees, as opposed to sending shredders to destroy everything and blowing things up with nuclear weapons. It's a little better. So, yes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend and all that. On to the dwarves. What can they do? Well, first things first, you can have a dwarven mage. I don't really see why you couldn't have a dwarven mage to begin with. It's like, hey, dwarven mages. Why not? You can also have a dwarven shaman. Now, supposedly this has something to do with the whole Bronzebeard thing, where he got merged into crystal or something, and that somehow created shamans. I don't know. The lore contrivances required to actually justify all this kind of thing are fairly ridiculous. And you can also have a dwarf warlock, and the reason you can have that is apparently because the Dark Irons came along and said, hey, this is how to be a warlock, you pussies just weren't doing it right the last time. On to the Night Elves. Major lore consternation from the Night Elf Mage. As to why? Well, apparently there was a bunch of them that were sort of in exile or whatever, and they've come back because, hey, the Night Elves are a little bit desperate because everything's exploding around them. Like, I suppose we can use magic now. It's probably the lesser of two evils. Something like that, anyway. I must point out that all of my lore explanations are mostly off the top of my head here, and they will be invariably wrong. Gnomes. Gnomes now get gnome priests. Oddly enough, your gnome priest trainer is actually a doctor with this giant chain sword kind of thing, so I'm not entirely sure if you should trust the gnome priests like you trust gnomes to begin with. In regards to the Draenei, you can't get anything new, but you do get this moth pet, assuming that you didn't get that already. Bear in mind, of course, you get pets at level 1 now, so you do get a couple of things that you wouldn't otherwise see, where the Draenei are otherwise unchanged in that regard. And Worgen are, of course, all new, and I've shown you this before, but I'll go over it again, just to make sure we don't get any more questions on the matter. Warrior, Hunter, Rogue, Priest, Druid, Warlock, Mage, and, of course, the Mighty Death Knight. Still the most badass-looking race class combination in the entire game. Right, over to the Horde, shall we? Now, Orcs get something new. They get a Mage, which they weren't able to use before, which, again, is kind of odd. If they're able to do Warlocks, I don't really see why they couldn't do Mages. Aside from that, they are identical. Undead now get Hunters. I imagine they've finally found an animal that doesn't want to try and run away with their limbs. That's problematic, really. If you're an undead hunter, you're trying to train a wolf, it ends up biting your arm off, running away with it, and taking it down the garden and burying it. It's a pain in the ass to get it back. So they've got spiders now, and I suppose that's good. Oddly enough, they didn't used to. This is a change. They used to have bats. Now they have spiders. So, hey, there you go. A little bit of a change in the beta for whatever reason. Tauren. Controversy. Thy name is Tauren Paladin. You can have them. They are apparently the Sun Walkers. They walk in the sun, I guess. They use the power of the sun as opposed to using the power of the Holy Light or whatever. It's sort of the same thing. It's the same rationale behind Blood Elves becoming Paladins. They use some kind of contrivance to become a Paladin, and everyone rages for about 2 months on the forums. That's just how it goes. And overlooked by more than one person is the fact that you can also now be a priest, which means Taurens can be every healing class in the game. Is there actually another race that can do that? Because I'm thinking no. Trolls! These guys, as they are the best race, also now have the best selection of classes available. The only thing they cannot be now is a paladin. So yes, you can have a troll warlock. Yes, you can have a troll druid. So very good, which is why, of course, I'm creating an all-troll guild that'll be back to the old school of Horde raiding, where we had no stinking paladins. Blood Elves. They get a pretty decent selection too. The only things they now cannot be are Shaman and Druid, so they're getting Warriors, as you can see. Didn't really make a massive amount of sense before anyway, considering you saw NPCs that were clearly able to be warriors. I was like, well, Blood Elves are too weedy to be warriors, and gnomes aren't? Seriously? Yeah, it wasn't a particularly good rationale, but hey, there you go. And last but by no means least, the Goblins. They get warriors, hunters, rogues, priests, Death Knights, that looks ridiculous. Shaman, Mage, and a Warlock. So you're missing out on a Druid and Paladin there. They're not really big on their healing. Only 2 healing classes available, but otherwise pretty solid. You can be every major damage class there, so that's pretty good. Right, and that covers it, ladies and gents. That should give you the information that you require. Of course, that is subject to change. I am hoping that Blizzard don't decide to remove some of the variety available to trolls, because that guild's going to be great fun. And no, I'm not taking applications for it yet. I will probably do a guild recruitment video closer to the release of Cataclysm. My name's been Total Biscuit, and this has been a look at race class combos. I will see you next time.